I don't have any shoes. I'll admit it. I will brag. Those players did not just go and whip that ass for us to be like, oh, good game. No, we whipped your ass. We took $800,000. Now we're partying with it.
Yeah, who cares if you're in the Power 5 conference if you don't win it, ever? Or you don't beat any of the teams in it? Like, what's the point of that? Wouldn't you rather win the conference and say, like, hey, my team is good, than lose the conference and say, well, our conference is good?
Well, I'll tell you what, I got two teams that got me gassed up. It's going to be a hell of a battle. Be like two dogs fighting over a milk bucket.
Look, they don't call me Tip for nothing. And my tip is, look out for the group of 5 this season. They've been taking it to the Power 5 year after year.
The only quarterbacks that ever get any love are from the Power 5. I could easily list off the top group of 5 quarterbacks I would rather have than those guys. I would be willing to bet that at least one of them is going to be in the running for the Heisman this year.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. Group of 5 guys here coming at you. I was just shining up my fantasy football championship belt, which finally arrived. A hardware. I mean, this thing's probably a good. I mean, this is authentic now. I mean, this is probably the same one that The Rock was carrying around before he was doing pregame performances at the Super Bowl. But anyway, it's great to be back, man. It's been a couple weeks. We got a really good show for you tonight. We got a special guest coming back to us, an honorary group of 5 guy. We'll go around the horn before we introduce him. First and foremost, Jesse Grisham. As always, it's a pleasure.
It's your birthday, and you know we don't give a your birthday.
Love me some 50 Cent. Best Super Bowl halftime show in history. Yeah. Love 50. I can relate with him. 15 years ago, I was more in shape, hanging from monkey bars like a Twinkie. But hey, looks great. Got shot 8 times. I can relate with him.
9 times.
But Sprouse, we get it, buddy. You've been talking about your fantasy football championship for like 4 weeks now. Okay, Alec, you've been there before.
Well, I just got the belt, which is why I brought it up again. When you win things, someday you get like a constant reminder. It's like the Rams won the Super Bowl, right? They're gonna hold up the trophy, and then maybe in a week they're gonna go get fitted for their rings, and then they're gonna come back for fall camp, and they're gonna get their rings. They're gonna raise a banner first week of the season. So it's kind of like a full year-long celebration until somebody knocks them off.
I think Aaron Donald probably celebrates for a week and he gets back in the weight room and starts clanging and banging. That's just me.
He probably
There's
does.
different types of winners out there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that I found a little interesting about your little intro there is, wasn't it like a couple weeks ago when you were asking us what is early 2000s hip-hop? Now you're a huge 50 Cent fan.
I don't recall.
That's another thing. Go ahead.
I've always loved Eminem.
Well, that poor guy, 50 Cent. I mean, the guy goes from having an 8-pack to a 4-pack, and he's getting fat shamed online. I mean, and
he looks like a Brahma. I mean, he's like a linebacker.
He looks
in
thick.
NFL. I mean, like no one's gonna say that to his face.
And the guy's like 50 years old, dude. Like, what do you want? I mean, but anyway, I don't want to get on that pedestal here. Jeff Murphy, as always, it's a pleasure, good sir.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine, boys. Just fired up for this episode, and our outstanding guest, Mr. Jason Kons, coming on. Fired up to talk to him, and group of 5 guys, man. We got some pretty awesome stuff down the pipeline here. And on our next episode, we will debut our group of 5 guys hotline. So any fans, we want to hear from you guys. So we'll drop that number. You should leave us a voicemail, and we'll play it on our show. And if it's a question, we'll answer it. If it's a hot take, we'll talk about it. So I mean, that's ultimately what we are. We're former players, but we're just fans, group of 5 fans in general. So we want to hear from you guys and put you guys out there to the universe and give us a shout out, man. Give us a call and we'll play it, and it'll be awesome. So looking forward to that.
Whatever hot takes you got, gambling locks, we want to hear about it. And and don't get me wrong, if it's ridiculous, we're gonna come back at you now. But we want to hear it all. Be as much of a homer as you want. I want Georgia Southern and App State fans talking trash to each other. The group of 5 version of Feinbaum. That's what we're looking for on this hotline there.
No doubt. And call us out. You listen to the last episode and especially one guy probably makes a pretty idiotic comment, please call us out. That's what we want.
He's not on the show right now.
I know he's not. That's why I can talk about him.
Yeah. But that should be really fun to get the fans more involved, and that's the whole goal of what we're trying to do here is get fans involved. But without further ado, an introduction to our special guest who, for some reason or another, we just cannot figure out this guy's video. But former offensive lineman, Air Force Academy, Marquette High School, Germantown, Wisconsin, the second best city in America, right behind Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Coming to us live, Konzi, my brother, how are you, sir?
Excellent. Sprouse, I am excellent. And to Jeff and Jesse, it is an honor and pleasure to be back on part of the Group of Five for this podcast, for this episode. Can't thank you enough. Love coming on, love talking football, love talking life, anything else that comes to the table with you guys. It's always an adventure. Much appreciated.
You know, this last time you were on, I was unfortunately not able to be on. I was taking care of business up in New Jersey, but so I didn't get to really meet you. So it's nice to it's nice to finally be on the podcast with you, because I got to tell you, Jason, last time you were on, your little speech about what football means to the college player and what for Air Force in the big picture, you had me mowing the hell out of my backyard listening to that thing. I was having the best attitude, giving my all effort, making sure I was in between the lines. So
Yeah, and
I appreciate that.
And we can't see Kons, or I mean, you're going to get a picture of him, but it's not going to do the justice. I mean, first of all, the guy is as intense as they come. And if you guys spend any time with the guy, I mean, I mentioned it off air. The guy looks like he's carved out of a mountain. He's got six-pack abs. I don't know how the hell you played O-line, but, you know, so it's great to have you. And before we get really going into this, I do want to give you, Kons, because you've got some social media prowess as well. Kons, and I don't know if Murph or Jesse, you guys know that.
Oh, I follow.
Kons has developed an app, and so I'll show you guys, called the Patriot Prescription. And so, Kons, if you want to take like just a minute, and I don't know if y'all
Sprouse,
can see that,
thanks
just
for
talk
bringing
about it a
that
little
up.
bit.
I appreciate it. It's a little bit of an endeavor that I've undertaken in my life, but application called the Patriot Prescription, and bottom line is trying to reinvigorate what it means to be an American patriot. Kind of the similar sense to you, Jess, you just talked about what it means to be a college football player. It means a heck of a lot more than just playing in between the lines. And same thing as patriotism means a heck of a lot more than just a career or a job or position within national defense or a service to your country, but just what you do every single day, how you carry yourself, the character that you instill and you promote within yourself, your family, your neighbors, your community, and essentially your country. And the main premise of it all is bottom line, to believe in yourself, have faith in your neighbor, invest in your community, and then ultimately make the country a better place. And that's what patriotism is. And so get on the app, download it. You got a daily positive message that comes to you every day that tries to integrate those three factors. And then it's also got a bunch of historical content, all the literature and doctrine that's tied to our country. So Constitution, Declaration of Independence, all stuff that I think every citizen, every patriot should know and have in their back pocket. So it's kind of why I developed it and where I want to go with it. But we'll see what happens.
Dude, I absolutely love that. Now, I follow the social media stuff, but I'm downloading the app as soon as we get off here because I'm ready. I mean, again, I'm ready to run through a brick wall, brother.
Is politics in your future or what? I mean, I'm just curious. Are you seem like you have the talk, you have the vocabulary, you have
physique.
the chin. You have the physique for sure. Like,
Jess,
I can
don't
sweep
know.
your floor.
I think I would love to lead. I would love to be out in front because I think it's just a good spot for me, where I want to go and where I want to help people get to. And it's not by any means telling them how to do it. It's just kind of helping them and trying to forge a path that enables people to get there. And that's where I think the Patriot Prescription, which is the name of the app, is what it's trying to do, right? I'm not telling anybody how to live their life or what to do or do these three things that's going to pan out successfully for you. but I think it's a way to live your life, and it's a way that inspires positivity and, again, patriotism in everyone's lives. So good,
Amen.
just good vibes out there to the country.
Well, let's just go ahead and clear it up now. What's your stance on the mask mandate? Just kidding. You do. I mean, you probably would win Wisconsin. I mean, which is a
Hey, I mean,
state there, Konzi.
anytime somebody comes down and just says it's a mandate, it's probably not the most correct thing to be doing, right? Anytime you got to continuously twist people's arms and tell them it's mandated, it's probably not the best thing for the community and for the country, right?
In related news, they did, however, in an interesting story, football related. So the combine, right, had a bunch of COVID measures, basically had them in a bubble for the combine, and all the players' agents and the players were complaining, like saying, look, like, my guy's not going to get his proper nutrition. He's not going to get his proper, recovery, and he's going to test poorly at this combine, where another guy who tests at his pro day is going to be able to do whatever he wants. He's going to eat like he normally would. And so, funny enough, the combine was like, okay, no more restrictions. So,
well, the combine has its whole list of problems. Only inviting basically 90% Power 5 guys. So we need to get more of these Group of 5 guys in there.
Yeah. Well,
big time.
Well, let's get this show on the road here with Kons. We want to get. I know Jesse wants some of the inside scoop on the life of a cadet and a cadet athlete at the academy. But what I find hilarious, I'm just thinking about it, is that I go from Air Force Academy, where Jason Kons is my best friend, and then I go to Middle Tennessee State. Jesse
I'm a
Grisham.
stand-up guy too, you asshole.
I think what's funny. I was probably the Jesse Grisham of the Air Force Academy. I was Kons' Jesse Grisham.
Well, then, then Jesse, it's an honor and pleasure again to be in your presence, because Sprouse is a high caliber man.
I know a couple of Air Force cadets back from my high school days, and I'll tell you, the guys that went there were just straight shooter, very good grades, great football players. And I don't think that I could fit the old persona of an Air Force cadet. I just don't think I could have done it. I did get recruited by them a little bit, but there's so many questions I have regarding the Air Force Academy.
Well, shoot them, Jess. Shoot them.
Well,
shoot your shot.
I wasn't privileged to be on the podcast again because I was in Jersey and I wasn't able to ask these questions. But if I am a 17-year-old kid, senior in high school, and Air Force comes and recruits me, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so I can either go to UAB, Western Kentucky, North Texas, or I can go to Air Force, right? Let's just throw 4 random teams out there. In my opinion, because I don't have probably the couth you have, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go to a football school. Because when I think of Air Force, I think of just, button up, fix your bed every morning. Never do that. Fix your bed every morning. And then, you're going through drill. You got practice. Sprouse, he's told me he had like a 0.8 GPA, Sprouse, in 3 months. It was pretty embarrassing. So I'm thinking that the school is pretty tough. But in all seriousness, don't you have to go through like military training while you're also doing football practicing? Because for me, that's just not. I'm not in it to win it, I guess. Because that's too much. Football was hard enough for me, Jason. So I would love to know, was it worth it? Seriously, what is?
Well,
different?
yeah, Jess. Maybe I'm the wrong guy to answer this, but I would say yes, it was absolutely worth it, and it is a very unique path to take, especially for a 17, 18-year-old young man or woman as they go on and take on an endeavor like this. Obviously, to go play football, you're talking about a young man who played high school ball and then is trying to balance what they want to do with the rest of their life. And I think that right there is the difference. That's where you're comparing apples and oranges. I think that's where the Air Force Academy sticks out as far as you will graduate a commissioned officer. Yeah. So to someone that much responsibility and ownership and liability is going to be given, they're going to build you and they're going to forge you into what they want you to be able to undertake in your professional career. So they're going to ask you to do a heck of a lot more. And part of that is military training, the basic piece of it, the constant military standard, hard grades, the academic piece. And then on top of all that, if you are an intercollegiate athlete, playing your sport at the highest level you possibly can, to help your team and help Air Force, right? So,
Sprouse, I feel bad. Sprouse is very intelligent. I think he had points early. He had like a 1.8. Plead the fifth if you want. I'm just curious. At Air Force, is there any partying that goes on? Are there women there? Is there bars that y'all go to? Or is it pretty much just, I'm just asking the question. People want to know.
Let me tell you about some of the parties that happen at the Air Force Academy.
Well, and from what I understood, you partied and got kicked out. That's what I'm wondering. Like, can you party? Is there any of that going on?
You can, but you've got to be a heck of a lot more smart about it, especially as an 18 to 22-year-old young man and woman. Like, you can't go out and it's not the normal college experience. It's not taken as, hey, it's okay, they're college students. The drinking age is still implied. There's curfews that are still applied to every cadet. So there's other restrictions that are taken into accountability. But in the same breath, I'll say partying didn't come as easy. So you had to make it a priority to go out and have a good time. You had to find a group of guys that you wanted to go out with and have a plan and stick to it, and then come back and be able to have the story that everybody knew that would get you through the door and out and graduate, right? Because if you didn't, it wasn't going to pan out very well for you. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, my best friend, old Sprousey, got involved with one of those groups who, as the old saying goes, Jesse, loose lips sink ships. And he was tied to a bunch of underwhelming, low caliber, I'll call them scum, and I'm glad they were kicked out because I don't want them leaving this country. And unfortunately, my buddy Sprouse was tied up with those guys. But all in all, if you're part of the right group, a tight group, close knit, you can get through anything and you can navigate those challenges.
Well, and I'll just add, as a freshman, and I don't have the experience as an upperclassman there, so as a freshman, it's quite a bit different because you're if you even leave the base, you're supposed to be in your dress blues, and so everybody in the whole town knows that's a freshman at the Air Force Academy, and so it would be really difficult to get away with things. Now, one of the many stupid decisions that I made was I did not wear my dress blues and I kept street clothes in my football locker. And so that led to, I mean, that was probably the least of my worries at that point. And first of all, guys, I was not, okay, we can talk about that later. I was not kicked out. I was recommended for disenrollment. Okay. And then I voluntarily left. However, it wasn't because I did anything underage or partied too hard or whatever. It was because I did not own up to it. And so maybe I would have finished, maybe I wouldn't have. I had a poor GPA. I was getting into stupid trouble because I really had a hard time conforming to what they wanted me to be. So it was probably the best decision at that point.
I wouldn't have made it a week. Like, seriously, you come to MTSU, and don't get me wrong, I get it. You party and stuff, but you come here, and you must have thought we were all just like trash. Like, we were over here smoking cigarettes on the sideline of practice. Just kidding.
No, I thought that. I thought
when did that happen?
I'm joking. No,
when I got to MTSU, I wasn't sure if it was like the college scene that I was judging, or if it was like you Southern hillbillies that I was meeting for the first time. But so funny enough, Kons, and you'll appreciate this. So Jesse went to high school with Zach Payne and Jeff Benson. And when I was on my last like week or so, I was kind of making my rounds, like saying bye to the people I cared to say goodbye to.
Sure.
And I will never forget it. Zach Payne was like, "So where are you going?" And I was like, I was looking like Middle Tennessee. And then he was like, "Okay." He's like, "Just remember the name Jesse Grisham." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Jesse Grisham, y'all are gonna be boys." And then so like week 1 in Murfreesboro, I'm at some house party and this burly man comes walking up to me and he passed me on the back. He's like, "Air Force?" And I was like, "Grisham." And then that was pretty much it, man. And then we.
Hey, so here's a question for you then, Jesse. Did you get tipped off at all by Zach Payne that you'd have a fellow young Air Force cadet coming to join you at Middle Tennessee?
Yeah. So side story. So him and Jeff were a year older than me. So my senior year was their first year at Air Force, and we had a workout gym, a training facility in Birmingham where a lot of the current college players and future college players would go and train, kind of like a D1, but it was a different version of it.
Orange
you know
Theory.
About D1 athletics. You know what I'm talking about? The Orange Theory. Yeah. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Strength gym. So Zach would come back in the summertime, hair buzz, and he'd give me all the Air Force, just like how his first year went. But he did tell me, I think it was either in May or in June, he was like, "There's a guy coming to MTSU, Matt Sprouse." He told me the same thing. He's like, "Y'all two," he's like, "Dude, y'all have like the same personality." He's like, y'all gonna be boys." So when I saw this Sprouse with his baggy shorts coming in, his earrings and his chain hanging down in the locker room, I was like, there he is. I was a little questionable at first. I was like, what is this guy? And then gonna find out he's a stand-up, one of the best guys I've ever met. So thank God he went to MTSU. I think everything happens for a reason, right? I mean, I'm sure you would have been hell of a person, cadet, player at Air Force, but you were meant to be at MTSU. You were supposed to be at the Bay. All right.
That's true.
There's no doubt.
That is true.
But I will say this, kind of going back towards Jeff and Zach. So when I was a junior, Zach was a senior, and he was our starting D tackle. Dude, I'm telling you, that kid, to this day, he's one of the top 5 defensive linemen I've ever gone against. In my, because I was a right guard for us in high school, and he was a 3 technique. So I always had to go against him in like pass protection. We always did the one-on-one pass protection. He beat me every freaking time because he was just so good with his hands. And I imagine he just got better in college. I think he started as a freshman or something like that. Dude, that guy, stand-up person, just works hard. I think he works for Facebook right now in San Francisco.
Yeah, he does. He does. I actually had the unique opportunity when this whole country went into telework mode or remote work. He actually moved from San Francisco down here to the Florida area, and for a little bit was just working right off his internet, working for Facebook. Yep. And we had the opportunity to catch up a little bit after a couple of years away. But you're exactly right. And
he talked to me about you on Facebook. He mentioned old Kons.
How the hell did he get the internet to work for Facebook in that place? And you can't even get a damn. We can't even get your audio.
Well, I think he was living in a little better spot, Sprouse. He was living down in like Seaside in a pretty nice little shack. But down here in the Panhandle, it gets a little bit rough.
A little dicey.
I don't know.
Well, Kons, I got a quick question. So,
shoot, brother.
And Grisham kind of alluded to, I think, a terrible, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like stereotype that Air Force is not a football school, but yet it seems to me in the Mountain West that every year.
I never said that.
You did?
I never said they weren't a football school. Never said
you said you don't think of them for
not
football.
A party school.
No. This was when you were saying you were getting recruited by Air Force.
You were given a story of being recruited by Air Force versus UAB.
Well, let me clear. I'm not trying to take. Okay, I think it's a very much a football school. I'm saying, but does a player want to go there to play football and also have to go through the trenches of going in there, turning in your iPhone, computer, can't have any communication with the outside world? That's the stereotype.
No, I think what.
But I would agree that the stereotype is probably there from people that don't necessarily know it. But why do you think Air Force has? I mean, they've been successful year in and year out in a tough Mountain West Conference. What do you think has helped them do that every year?
Well, I think what helps them do it every year is, I think first and foremost, some great coaching. They've got a great staff. Troy Calhoun always brings out, fresh coaching talent, and guys are always looking to use Air Force as a stepping stone, whether it be defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator wise. They do keep a good crop of guys that graduated there, which I think is smart, because to coach at Air Force, it's nice to have a guy that knows what the experience is like as a cadet and playing football there. So I think that's vastly important. But I think that's how they've been able to maintain such dominance in that area. I do wish they would be able to pull out a Mountain West Conference championship. And, they've been close here several times, even a couple
past year.
Yeah, I was going to say last year.
10-win seasons. And done great. But then, and another piece, this gets back to like playing for a service academy. A lot of times it gets maybe convoluted, you can say, of what you're there to play for. There's kind of a split between the fan base, and not that Air Force has the biggest fan base, but you got service members who are really pulling for the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. They care about two games. You got to beat Army and you got to beat Navy. And in their perspective, that's all you play for. Like, you play for those two games and that's it. Well, Air Force, in their defense, has been playing in conference play for a long time. And so when you have to consistently go up against the same teams and they learn the option and they have film on you, you've got to constantly come to the table with something a little bit more than just a triple, where when Army and Navy stayed independent for a little bit longer, I think they kind of had a fresh face of an opponent on the field and were able to get away with a little bit of the same pedigree for a lot longer than Air Force was. So I'm of the belief that Air Force should focus on winning a Mountain West title and kind of I'm not taking anything away from the Commanders-in-Chiefs trophy. I think it's a storied rivalry. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But I think a Mountain West Conference title in today's competition, today's arena, I think speaks a lot more volumes than winning the Commanders-in-Chiefs. But that's just my opinion. That's all I got for that.
I think
I like it.
I think winning the Mountain West would be more beneficial in the recruiting world too than winning a Commander-in-Chief's trophy, because truthfully, unless you have service members in your family or go to one of the academies, you probably either don't even know about it or really don't care about it. And if you win, especially in the Mountain West, if you've rattled off wins against Boise State, of course, San Diego State, Fresno, San Jose, especially, this last year, the Mountain West was, top to bottom, other than probably UNLV, was anybody could have beat anybody. So you're gonna have 10, 11, maybe even 12 wins if you win the Mountain West, and then now you can go battle a Boise State when you're going to recruit in California or out there on the West Coast. So
you can. And Sprouse, you're 100% right. When you go and recruit, and you got a kid who's split between Boise State and Air Force, you've got a little bit of currency to burn when you can say, hey, we've played Boise State 3 out of the last 4 years and we've won the last 3 times. You can kind of play on that dominance in the conference, and that's a huge play for when you're recruiting a kid. We're trying to keep dominant. We're trying to get dominant. We're trying to win. Winning culture, winning tradition. We want you to be a part of it. Kids jump on that,
Yeah, and you probably got I look, the Air Force was my first and only, FBS offer. So I'm certainly not trying to knock it. But then when you look at Army, Navy, Air Force, they're all kind of recruiting the same kids or the same type of kids. So now when you can go recruit against a Boise State or a San Jose State or a Fresno State, your talent pool is just getting a little bit better, a little bit
larger.
bigger. And now, of
Big
course,
time.
you've got to find that kid that's talented, but also has the grades and also can go through the military stuff. But
Exactly what I was just going to say. Because when I think of Air Force and Navy, I'm not going to bring Army into it. But when I think of like Air Force and Navy, Cons, not dissing on Air Force. I don't think of like supreme athletes. I think of great athletes that have their nose clean, their head on straight, and I would be willing to bet between Air Force and Navy, they're probably one of the least penalized teams in the country. They don't false start, they don't offsides.
Sure.
They're
Discipline.
just well-trained guys. They just do what they're told. You know, it's kind of like back in the day, the 1955 basketball team that passed the ball around and did layups. These guys do their assignments. They all do the exact same thing. They cut correctly. They go to their man. They make their blocks, and they break 15, 20-yard runs. I hate playing y'all. I hate the triple option. It's just
Right.
It's atrocious. I was about atrocious. It's atrocious. I hate the triple option.
there also
But
used to be
it's
the
great.
notion that you couldn't go to the NFL, and that rule has changed a little bit. I don't know, Cons, if you can elaborate on it, but I remember, you remember Cons. Well, in our freshman year, you had like Ben Garland, you had Chad Hall,
Right.
you had what was the fullback's name that was really good, and none of those guys were even eligible to be drafted, even
Correct.
though they all ended up playing in the league for a while, but they had to do their service first.
Yeah, it's one of the hard points, and even I think a discrepancy that I have with how Air Force and all the services have really handled that. When you're talking about a National Football League talent playing at a service academy, that's like a once in a decade type thing, right? Like at that point, let that guy go and play in the National Football League every Sunday, and let him be an advertising tool for all of armed forces.
No
and
question.
Just like John Madden used to do with Chad Henning back in the day, John Madden used to circle Chad Henning's ass every time they came to the sideline and go, "Can you believe this guy fits in a fighter jet?" And every time that happened, you got guys going, "No, I didn't know that." And that's what an all-American guy. Plays football, flies fighter jets, went to the Air Force Academy, and the guy live, eats, and breathes, patriotism. Like that's the guy you want at the forefront. And we've had players, I think, that have been able to go do that. We had guys that were All-Americans, Reggie Rembert and, Weston Steelhammer, Jalen Robinette, guys that were very talented. And all my knowledge is, I think the Department of Defense came down and said, if you had a legitimate opportunity to go play a professional sport, you could pursue that. However, then the Air Force Department came down and said, no, you still have to serve your 2 years in some capacity, and then again be released to the National Football League or any other professional organization you were going to go play for, which I think it left a sour taste in guys' mouths, because you guys know when you leave college and you are a potential recruit or a potential player at the next level, that's your opportunity. Like that's really the best chance you're going to have before there's a whole nother crop of guys that enter into the combine and the pro day. And, and then it just becomes a whole nother community of free agents. Everyone's battling for a chance, but now your film's old. You're a year older. It's just a challenge. So the best chance you have is right out of college. And if that's gone, you just got to be that much better of a player and that much more committed. And guys have done it, but it's a little bit tougher to do.
So did Ben Garland, did he have to go and serve after he got done playing NFL?
He did. He served in he did a couple of jobs. He came back to the academy for 1 year and was the exec for our superintendent, while also going to the Denver Broncos training camps. And then he had held one other job in the course of his 2 years prior to going to Guard and Reserve, which he then transitioned to after 2 years, and then played for the Denver Broncos. Ended up playing as well for, I want to say,
San Francisco for a
San
while.
Francisco and Atlanta.
Yep.
You played alongside him, correct, Cons? Like, how older was he? Much older was he?
He was a D lineman
Sprouse and I
when
were
we were.
freshmen.
Oh, he was a D lineman.
Yeah,
But then
that's
he
what
transferred to offense.
that's what I was gonna say, dude. That guy, man, to do what he did. I mean, you talk about how impressive it is. First of all, to play in the NFL at all, but to do the service route too, and then he goes from playing defensive tackle at Air Force.
Wow.
So I'm not sure when it happened. I think it was in Atlanta. They moved him to O-line. And then, he was playing quite a bit.
He played in the Super Bowl, I believe.
Yeah, when San Francisco or with Atlanta.
I think it was that comeback game. I think he was the center for him.
Well, Sprouse, I want to say he went to 2 Super Bowls. I want to say he went to
one with Atlanta,
San Francisco,
yeah,
and Atlanta.
I think he did too.
And I want to say when he was at Atlanta, he was consistently the highest grading offensive lineman on the unit. Very impressive.
Yeah, that guy, man. I remember coming in that freshman year and having to block him on scout team, and I was like, God bless, dude. But funny enough, there's guys, and I don't know if you guys will appreciate this, but like, you got a guy like Ben Garland who's an NFL guy, but I'm not saying he's not hard to block in practice, but he doesn't like physically just whip your ass in practice. Like, he just beats you, or like he just like goes really hard for the drill, gets the look he wants, and then he's done. Then you got guys like Zach Payne, who probably weren't as talented as Ben Garland, but they went 120% no matter what. And it was just like, yes, I know Ben Garland is better than Zach Payne at football, but I would rather go against Ben Garland right now than this guy. But you got to have all those guys, I guess.
I'm thankful for Zach, though. I will say, I think he got me better and got me ready to play college football because, you go against caliber like that. He's a senior, and, well, I'm telling you, he was a freaking just rocket off the line. So, I mean, you probably know firsthand, Kons. You probably went against him every day in spring ball and fall camp, but he was so good.
No, Zach was probably our quickest at the time.
Quick.
Our quickest defensive lineman and had the best hands.
He always made fun of me. It was like our very last practice because his senior year, we went to the state championship, 6A state championship game, played against the number 2 team in the country, the Prattville Lions. But our very last padded practice, we were doing our pass pro, and I'll never forget it. He slapped my hand to the outside, spun back to the inside, beat me, and all I said was, sorry, language. I said, damn, he's fast. Bleep that out. I said, damn, he's fast, and that's all. He's like, I'm so fast. Man, he was good, and he tore people up. He tore people up in games.
Well, I'm sure y'all wanna get into like some of the military stuff you go through. I can only speak for basic training, which, of course, me and Kons both had to do it twice because you do it at the prep school and then you do it again as a freshman. And I'll say this about it, and I think I can speak for this. The physical part of basic training, like, you're a Division I football player, it's not that bad. Push-ups and some sprints here and there, marching around, carry somebody on your back, maybe do some crawling. It sucks when you're a big dude because some of that stuff's like a little overwhelming. But what I would always do is look to the person next to me and see like some guy that was like, the next computer guy that's probably flying drones, and I was like, if this guy can physically do this, I can do it. Now, was hard for me was like the mental stuff that you're like, this is so stupid. Why are we doing this? Like, dude, they got you carrying around this little notebook that's probably this big, and they call it wait, what's it called?
Called contrails.
Contrails, and basically it's got like famous quotes from different military commanders and generals, presidents. It's got like history. It's got every damn spec on every airplane you've ever heard of, and your job is to just memorize it. So you're like standing there in the middle of your up downs or whatever, and some you're 18, and then some 19-year-old comes sprinting up there and says, Sprouse, give me the dimensions on the A-10 Warhog. And you're just like, and you're supposed to just be like at attention, and you're supposed to know the length of the wings, the engine size, the size of the missiles it fires. And you're like, nobody, you don't know that stuff.
7 inches is always the answer to everything. Just say 7 inches.
7 inches.
Yeah, ain't it? That ain't it.
Well, I used to love it. Sprouse.
Jesse, you were made for the Air Force Academy.
They need to have they need to do a test where they just have a hidden cameras, and I'm like a cadet. I just got recruited there, and see how long I last.
Well, Cons, I always used to love it. Sprouse we'd ask for his Air Force stories, and we'd be like, we go, Sprouse, what is the meal of the day? And then he would like get an attention,
dude,
and he just
Yeah, dude. So freshman, and this is why, like, I wish I could have, because from what I heard, it got easier after the freshman year. Like, basically, you could think of your 4 years at the academy as like 4 years of being in a frat, like, and you just get hazed that first year, basically. But like, you call these things called minutes, which was basically like the alarm clock for the upperclassmen, and you have gotten a menu for the following day the night before, and then like they come barging in your room with a freaking air horn at like 4:30, banging on the doors, and you're like, your bed is supposed to be magically made. Like they got you doing stuff that's impossible, and somehow you figure it out. Like I've realized all those things that I thought were really stupid was like training you to just like figure it out, man. Like shit's hard, it's impossible, but you'll figure it out. Like shine them damn shoes, shave, and make your bed while you're still asleep. but so you're standing in the hallway at attention, and you're just like, so I was in Squadron 40, known as the Warhawks, the very last squadron in the damn cadet wing, right? You're in the bottom floor of the last building, and you're in there. You're in there, and you're like, good morning, Warhawks. What Cons, what do they call it? Like what you're wearing for the day? Like the
uniform of the day.
The uniform of the day is fatigues. The menu for the morning meal consists of scrambled eggs, orange juice, and French toast. And you just go through the whole day just planned out. And then, God forbid, you mess it up.
That's awesome.
Start the whole thing over. I mean, it is just like
brutal. And that's what, to Sprouse's point, you know, for a Division I athlete, there's nothing that you're going to do physically during basic training or your freshman year that's going to be overwhelming. However, it's everything that comes down the pipe at you, the fire hose effect, if you will, that just seems to never turn off, and you're always doing something. There's no real time for yourself. Like Sprouse said, if there's ever a chance to sit down or relax, you're probably doing it wrong, because at some point you have your contrails up and studying, you know, what General Schofield's quote is and what his graduating address to the graduating class of 1947 is. Right. So all of that stuff is what and now Sprouse is dying. But that's stuff that
these are not like one sentence quotes. These are like 3 pages long.
Yeah, they're long ones. But that's, to your point, Jesse, that's where the challenge comes in. That's where it's just never off. You're always on. You're always working. You're cleaning your room. You're doing your homework. The military stuff never stops. And that's where it becomes a challenge, but all for a reason, right? If you can buy into the reason behind it, I think you can get through it. And that's what Sprouse was just alluding to. They are building a landscape of stress, anxiety, pain, discomfort, and you have to navigate it. And that's what they're doing. They do a very good job of it, because I was very stressed, very anxious. Very tough freshman year,
dude. And then like for me, what made it hard, because I kind of enjoyed, like, especially like the military parts of basic training. Like I've always been fascinated with that stuff. Like any of those like old military movies, I like I would love to do that. But then that ends, and then school starts, and like you don't walk into freshman, you know, theory of music and art and golf class. You walk into freaking chemistry, physics, engineering, calculus. Those are like your freshman, like gen ed Portuguese or Arabic if you're really smart. And then all the other stuff is still there. And then where the average cadet gets their 2 or 3 hour window where they go play. They have like intramural time where they can go play pickup basketball or ultimate frisbee, whatever. Now you're in film and weights and practice, and then you go right back to the squad, and it's just like it's like where like Jesse, I would imagine you like on a Tuesday, your worst part of the day was football practice, but like for a freshman at the academy, those 2 or 3 hours, you're like, thank God. Like, let me get my head beat in by Ben Garland for the next 2 hours. I'd rather do that.
It makes us sound so soft. And I mean, we really are, though. I have nothing but respect for these military academies. But it's just like, yeah, you're right. Tuesdays, it was full pad practices. And I would be like, just, come on, Rain. Let's get something here. Let's give me a little break here. God.
Inside drill.
But Konzi, it got a little easier in your upperclassmen years or what?
It absolutely got easier, and I think, but part of the ease came with, I think, knowledge and experience, and knowing how to navigate everything. And then you touched on it, Sprouse. I think the biggest thing about military training that brings anybody back is the camaraderie that you build with it, right? I mean, I know when I went to freshman basic training at the academy, I thought it was immensely easier because I had built a bond with guys like you and Brian Lindsay, Nick DiGiulio, all these guys that I already knew prior to walking in the door. And then that bond got tighter. It made you want to stay. It made you work harder. It kept you coming back. And I think that's what made it easier, because the classes get harder, expectations get higher, but you rise to the occasion because you want to stay there. You want to be part of that organization, and you want to be part of the community, So it does get easier. It does get better.
I kind of want to jump in some football questions here, if that's okay. Because I'm kind of curious on how transitioning from a high school offensive lineman going to a military academy, how it works out. So my first question, in Wisconsin, I imagine, it's just a guess, were you the left tackle at your high school?
I was.
Okay. Normally that's how it works. So we're always left tackles, then we go play college and we get moved all around. So left tackle, were you in a run and gun or a pass pro or what kind of, or power eye? What kind of offense did you run in high school?
I want to say we ran a great mix of, I would love to say pro style, but we had our quarterback out of the gun, under center.
So you did a lot of pass protecting then. That's kind of what I'm asking. You did a lot of pass protection. Then you go to Air Force, where did you just have to learn all over, like how to cut block and dive at people's, ankles and knees or way you, I don't know. How would you describe the run blocking at Air Force? I think of it as cut blocking, but maybe y'all have another terminology for it.
I think of it as being savagely aggressive between the lines. That's what I think of blocking.
No doubt. But so when you go from high school as pass protector, is that when Air Force came calling, where you're just like, you know what? Hell yeah, I want to get in a 3-point stance and just get off the ball. Because I'll admit it, I was more of a fatigue guy. I love pass protecting. I loved it. That's what I was good at. That's what I got recruited for. Run blocking, well, yeah, don't run my way. But pass protecting, I'll protect the quarterback, by God.
No, Jess, if I'm being honest, that never really even crossed my mind. As a high school athlete, I never thought to myself, I don't want to go to Air Force because I don't want to put my hand in the dirt. I went to Air Force to go win some football games and play in the Mountain West. And however they wanted me to get the job done, well then, damn it, that's what we were going to do, and we were going to make it happen. So that never really crossed my mind. But I'm not sure. I'm sure some players think that way, But I don't know. Never really thought about it like that.
Not more of just. No, I guess that is what I meant. Yeah. Well, no, I'm making fun of myself. I do enjoy a good power, double team power, and run blocking, but I enjoyed football more pass protecting. I really did. So I would look at it going to Air Force and be like, what? Like that's not my best strength. So why are they even asking me? I don't want to be in a 3-point stance. I want to be 2-point stance. Cobra. That's what I am. Look right behind me right there. That guy right there, he is pass protecting. They did not want to give me a picture of me run blocking.
Well, Jess,
Because
they probably saw film of you on the sideline and just thought that guy's got the confidence we want in the hallway. Telling him what the wingspan on an A10 is. That's why.
That's exactly it.
That's why they want you, man. That's the kind of confidence we need out in the world right now.
I'll say this. That's one thing that's a damn good feeling that I only got to do it very few times, but because we go to the prep school, you're playing a JUCO schedule and you're running the same offense essentially as they run up at the academy. And when you get that like release and you cut a linebacker that's running like full speed to the sideline, it's incredible. It's one of the better. Like I thought that was better than when if you're a left tackle and you're getting across a 3 technique and cutting them down. If you get downfield and cut somebody, a linebacker or a safety, that's pretty damn special. And then at the prep school, we were probably a little more savage and aggressive, as they're probably allowed to be at the high level there.
No, Sprouse, I agree with you. I was a sophomore and we're playing BYU, and this play rings in my memory bank often, but we ran a reverse back to the left, and I'll never forget, had a linebacker come up in the B gap, stoned his ass right there on the line of scrimmage, and then got to release out to a corner. And that feeling of being out on the edge, and I was a sophomore, Jesse, you'll like this, fresh out of survival training, about a strong 255 pounds, playing left tackle and running downfield 35 yards just to put a corner on his butt and have Mykal Hunter jump over the block and go score a touchdown against BYU. But that feeling of getting out there in space, I personally loved it. I'm sure some offensive linemen get a little bit jittery downfield. The old knee braces start.
Either start locking up on you.
Clicking and clanging.
Yeah.
It's not that I would get jittery going downfield. It was the mere. Remember in practice, Sprouse or in Murph, when we'd have like screen drills, and if you're the center, you got to run downfield I hated screens, especially at center. Left tackle's fine because 2 of the plays you're just pushing the D end upfield. Yeah. But if you're center, my God, they got you going to the safety every freaking play. Every play.
Well, I can say,
Jesse, that's got to turn you on, man. That's got to turn you on. I mean, if you get,
it's got to move the needle.
For real.
It doesn't make my nipples hard, I promise you.
No, for real. Tell me I'm wrong. You get a center on a safety and you put that guy in the dirt.
Oh, of course.
Tell me you're going to turn a good play into a great play. That's got to get
my favorite play, seriously, my favorite play when I was at left tackle. Don't remember what the play was called. It was a wide receiver screen where left tackle, we would take 3 steps in like we're about to do a power, and then you just haul ass flat to the corner. And he would never know you were coming, and you would just drill that like 180-pound 6-0 corner. And it was a great time. And if it scored, yes, it's one of the best plays in college football if you're an offensive lineman. I totally agree with you, 1,000%. But when you're a center, no, it's totally
and what happens to probably 90% of those left tackles is somehow when they take those 3 down steps, they get held up by the D end, and then the corner makes the tackle. Loss of 2.
Well, I always loved throwing those, and when we called it Alabama, I can't remember if it was my last year, but that was where the back swings out and the tackle doesn't even go in. He goes straight for the corner, and like sometimes that corner would just. He'd run up and follow the receiver who's cracking the linebacker. And you guys, I mean, Grisham wasn't playing tackle at the time, but I remember just a couple guys just,
I remember Mark Fisher, he's right tackle. He would crush.
Yes. Especially if they wouldn't see it. And then the running back has just a beautiful alley. I would just get so fired up when I see that big man in space taking out a DB.
We were talking about BYU. I gotta get this story off because he was telling a great story about BYU and scoring a touchdown. I'll never forget when we were at BYU, and plus BYU, beautiful stadium. It's probably one of the nicer stadiums we ever played in. They sold that thing out.
Provo, Utah.
I think it was a Friday night game, 8 o'clock, ESPN 2 or something. Yep. And it was a close game, but I remember I was playing center that game, and we're backed up to our red zone on the 1 yard line. and great play calling. We run like third and 10 on the one. We run Peter or whatever, power right, and their middle linebacker just shoots the gap and drills us in the backfield. Safety, right? And I'm like, good God, this little linebacker for BYU, because he's like, wow, ESPN2, full stadium. What could you ask for? God bless. And I looked over at Luck, and I was like, what in the hell just happened there? That was the worst trash talking ever. This guy just like christened me. Oh, man. Great people there in Brigham.
Yeah, Provo. It's hard to find a beer in Provo. I can tell you that. Kons, we got like a minute, though. Can you give us just really quick what the 3-week survival training is like in that one? I think it's your between sophomore and junior summer, maybe?
It's between your freshman, sophomore year. And real quick, the survival training, it's called Survive, Evade, Resist, Escape, SEER training.
Yeah.
But that's what you go through. And so for the first half of that 3 weeks, you're kind of, so the 10 days, you're learning about all your survival and evasion skills. So how to just live off the land. You're living with like 1 MRE for 10 days. I lost 35 pounds in 7 days in the field. So I came back and I looked like a completely different human being. And then after that, you kind of learn your resist, escape pieces in case you ever do find yourself in captivity. And again, to round this whole thing out, what makes survival training better is camaraderie, baby. If you got a positive attitude, you can pull through anything. And doing it with a bunch of football guys, it was quite the experience. And believe it or not, I'd do it again because I had some of the best memories I had out there in the field, just learning those skills and being with guys that I now call my brothers. So quick minute rundown, that's pretty much what it looks like.
I mean,
that's awesome.
Kons, we got to get you on the ballot in
2033. I did the math. 2033. He'll be running.
I don't think it can be 33, can it?
It will be. Yeah, 2021, 2025, 2029, 2033.
Well, they are already. They would take
vote.
office then.
Right.
We got to get you on the ballot 2032.
Whatever. I'm voting for him.
Well, I got my vote.
Yeah, it ain't no doubt. I don't care what you're running for.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take anything. I'll take all the votes, and I'll take the community from Group of 5 because we need more of this stuff going on in the country. Absolutely.
No question. Well, guys, that's about all we got for you tonight. Konzi, love you, brother. Thanks for coming on. I know I can tell you, man, just from you talking a couple times to us, I know Jesse and Jeff and Zeke and Tip, the other guys, they love you.
I got the pleasure to hang out with them for a football game, and I can't think of a better time I had in the last 5-10 years, man.
Yeah, no question.
I'll never forget it. We watched Middle Tennessee take down Marshall in the driving rain. And they pounded them. They pounded them into the dirt. Never forget it.
No question.
I was there. I was in the box with a Group of 5 guys.
And Kons,
we call this a storm.
And Kons drank all the damn Miller Lights from the wrong cooler.
There must have been 1,000 Miller Lights. I drank every one of them. It's where I really fell in love with my fiance, who's now my fiance, going to be my wife soon. I brought her to the game. She's like, "This is heaven." I said, "Babe, it's just Middle Tennessee." She's like, "Sign me up."
Hey, it'll do it to you.
It was great.
Oh man.
Well, Kons, real quick, shout out your app again. That way everyone knows what it is.
Sure, real quick. It's called the Patriot Prescription. You can get it on Apple Play, Google Play, or the Apple Store, Google Play. Get it anywhere. It's $1 a month, so $1 every month. But every day you get a positive, uplifting message that tries to inspire and rejuvenate the patriotism that this country deserves, because America is a miracle. And I think the generation coming after us may not understand that, and let's try to rejuvenate that within our younger ranks. Because if they don't know it's a miracle, I'm scared of who's going to defend it. And we've got to have people that grow up in this country proud and grateful of a nation prepared to defend it. And this is what we're defending, right here. Stuff like this, Group of 5 schools, opportunities to compete, opportunities to get better and be great young men and women, husband, wives, sons and daughters for a grateful, grateful nation. Guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate
Amen.
it.
2033.
32. You'll be doing a damn absentee ballot. I don't know if they'll be counting those then. Dominion voter system. Anyway, hey, group of 5 guys, that's all we got for you. Make sure you download Konzi's app, the Patriot Prescription. And then, of course, follow us, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We got that up and rolling now for a little over a week. So we got some good stuff on there. And then like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the above. We will see you probably in a couple of weeks with another awesome guest. We'll keep that suspicion going. See y'all.